What is up, dudes? It's Jeremy and I'm joined by the little dude, and today we're talking about my top 5 favorite superhero movies so far, because 2016 is jam-packed with comic book movie, superhero movie, whatever the shit you call them, jam-packed with new releases. So I just wanted to go over my favorites so far. So I'm just going to roll right into it. Coming in at number 5, Spider-Man 2. And of course, a lot of people hated Tobey Maguire. They hated like that whole Spider-Man 3 set of movies. They tried to forget it, whatever. But the thing that I think Spider-Man 2 really had going for it, and this resonates with all my top 5 favorite movies, is that the villain plays just as big of a part as the hero. And I think that's huge. That's a huge thing that really sets a superhero movie above with like the regular just cookie cutter like fucking brawl fest that is a lot of superhero movies. Doc Ock was one of the most menacing villains, especially for that Spider-Man franchise, but just in general for superhero movies. And I personally don't think that Tobey Maguire was a bad Spider-Man at all. Like, if he had been a few years younger, he would have been the living Peter Parker. And I still don't think he was bad, and I just recently went back and watched Spider-Man 3. I mean, I watched them all, but Spider-Man 3 was like what ruined it for a lot of people. And I think that those movies are definitely worth the rewatch, especially Spider-Man 2. Coming in at number 4, X-Men Days of Future Past. This was 100% the best of the X-Men franchise. It basically, spoiler alert, it resets the entire series, which I thought was a really clever way to do it. What I really liked about Days of Future Past is that we got to see a lot of our favorite X-Men characters, and we got to see them expanded a little bit. A lot of people have an issue with the movies relying on Wolverine or Hugh Jackman, and this one he played a very big role, but I don't think it was the same as the others. It didn't rely on him, and we got to see more of those other characters that we've always wanted to see. And I think that X-Men Apocalypse is going to take that to the next level. We're going to see more characters that we've wanted to see for a long time. The scene with Quicksilver is 100% one of my favorite movie moments of all time. If you haven't seen it, make sure you go see it, especially before Apocalypse comes out, because I really have high hopes for X-Men Apocalypse next summer. Moving right along, number 3, The Watchman. I think Zack Snyder is a superb fucking director. I think he does so great. 300 was obviously amazing. And I just think The Watchman was another continuation, another great movie, a great superhero movie. What I love is how grounded The Watchman is. And I mean, yes, it's an adaptation, but I think that Zack Snyder has a really good knack from transitioning comic book to movie in a really natural way. Like, you feel like you're watching a live comic book, which is what I loved about The Watchmen. The story of The Watchmen is so raw. And I think that's what makes it such a powerful story, is just how raw and how grounded it is. If you haven't seen it, definitely go back and check it out. I highly recommend someone who is already a fan of The Watchmen to check out the Ultimate Cut, which is like 3.5 hours and also features the Tales from the Black Friday. I would not watch that for a first time watch through though. It's very long and it's just like a little bit too much. So don't watch the Ultimate Cut the first time. Just watch the movie and then the Ultimate Cut. Coming in at number 2 is going to be Captain America, the Winter Soldier. Such a great story. Captain America was always my least favorite Marvel character and my least favorite Avengers character until this movie came out. You really get to see a little bit more behind the scenes of S.H.I.E.L.D. And there was a really awesome tie-in with the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show, which doesn't really set the movie apart, but I still thought that was so cool that they did that. And the Winter Soldier was a pretty terrifying villain, especially when you find out, spoiler alert, when we find out that it's Bucky. That was heartbreaking. That broke my heart. But it's cool because we're going to see him in Civil War and he's going to be on our side, so that's great. My number 1 superhero movie, The Dark Knight. Now, the series overall was great, and I really think that Christopher Nolan did an awesome job with this series. Yes, a lot of people hated the Christian Bale Batman, I'm Batman voice, but I really think that was a small nuisance in some otherwise perfect films, because The Dark Knight. As soon as I started thinking about it, I totally forgot about everything that I was going to say. The Joker is, one of the most iconic villains of all time, obviously, and Heath Ledger, we all know, knocked it out of the park. He was the Joker. He owned the role. He did so great. Christian Bale definitely plays a better Bruce Wayne than he does Batman, but I still don't think there's anything wrong with his Batman. I think that this was the most thrilling superhero movie I have ever seen. I'm on my edge of the seat from the moment it starts with that bank heist. Now, The Dark Knight is definitely just the brightest light, or the darkest one, of Christopher Nolan's trilogy. Dark Knight Rises was okay, and Batman Begins was also really solid, but The Dark Knight was just the best one of the three. I hope you guys share your thoughts below in the comments on what your top 5 favorite superhero movies are, and I hope you guys are getting stoked for next year because there are six big time superhero movies coming out, and I think it's gonna be awesome. We're down to just hours before Star Wars, and it is just a spectacular time to be a nerd. Looking forward to 2016. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and thanks for watching, dudes.